are active still. So we got here to this investigation, so today we can tell the country about a first stage. We say about a first stage because you know that when we inform here, there are things that we can say and others that we cannot say yet. That cannot be told yet because they are being developed right now. For example, people that are fully identified but have not been detained as yet. In this operation that we began in the Zulia state. Don't move the image. So the operation is here. The operation is named is No to Christmas. It's the same plot line as always. There won't be no Christmas in Venezuela. And a citizen, a businessman, comes into play, whose name is Jose Enrique Rincon, the owner of several companies in the Zulia state, especially in the shrimping area, in the agro-industrial area, who together with his sons, Juan Diego and Jose Enrique, they have strong links with opposition sectors from a very long time. This is a person that one little by little gets to know the power that he has created around the management of wealth, of money. Every time that there was a change in officials in the Zulia state, this man and emissary was sent, and the process of recruiting began, and that's how they have recruited military judges and other people into this operation. This man, Jose Rincon, is not currently in the country. And why he's not in the country? Well, somehow, when we began the investigation in the Maracaibo state, they thought they could be implicated. That's why he left with one of his sons abroad. So being abroad, amidst this investigation, he just had a health issue, neurism, and he's currently in a delicate health situation due to we think, the stress of the situation. For this reason, his other son that remained here also left, and they are all currently in Spain. The funds that they are using are located in Spain, and they have direct links with Ivan Simonove. Again with terrorist Maria Corina Machado, with Tomás Guanipa, with Juan Pablo Guanipas, and other people that we have them here, journalists, lawyers. All this we want to tell you that they are identified, but I won't say the names so that they won't have a head start to flee. I say these other ones because they are already known in several conspiration activities. Also, the man has restaurants, different places where he invites people over. They have carried out meetings in those places. They've participated with military personnel. They are all identified, but they are not still detained. In the control of the judicial area. Well, what could we think this? Why are they doing this in the judicial process? So that's where the detain comes in. The plans in the prisons. And parts of the plan was to give people detained in different prisons, give them explosives and weapons. And I have to say that they all had a network in 3 other states in Venezuela. So we are acting in every single one of those states. They were detained. Pedro Velasco Prieto, who was the president of the judicial circuit of Zulia. Maurelia Vils Prieto, also another judge from Zulia. Mariol Plaza Hernandez, also another judge from Zulia. and Francisco Javier Urdaneta, a prosecutor of the public ministry, Jose Gregorio Rendon, a higher prosecutor of the Zulia state, and around them, different links with opposition leaders from the party First Justice, mainly. So two facts could be intertwined here. The plot of conspiracy, and so we are going over the conspiracy plot to overthrow the government. So we can see over here a group of weapons of different calibers. We have 6 Colombian rifles. We have an M4. We have 8 AK-47. There are 6 M16 rifles of US manufacture. A grenade launcher with 10 grenades. A Glock. Sights, drones that they use. They were going to use this drone for the observation. Why? Where were these located? So within the investigation, we have the location. We learned about the location of an area where training was being carried out for Colombian paramilitaries, linked with the same figures that took part in Gedeon. Whoever wants to know the names of Gedeons, you can just check the facts of the paramilitary groups, who trained them, where they were trained. They had this location for training. We got there. When we arrived amidst the operation, we began to go over the place, and we found all this weaponry that was likely just a part of what was there for the training purposes. They've said that rain, in their talks, that rain helped the government. No, the rain helped them, not us. The rain that was pouring down in the Zulia state, it made it impossible for us to arrive to the place where we wanted to, but we will get there eventually. These armaments, there are even rifles from the Colombian army, very likely stolen by these paramilitary groups, stolen by these terrorist groups. Now look at the following. In their talks, in the meetings they have had, I have it here, my summary, they say that in terms of the decommissioned weapons, it was a strong hit. The issue of the commissioned weaponry is a major casualty for us. When we announced that the weapons had been decommissioned, they got in touch to see how they did with Simonovic, and he said that he was close to arrive from Colombia, grenades and explosives that Mr. Rincon was going to handle. So a few days ago, there was an explosion of a grenade in the Zulia state. And the explosion of those grenades is linked with this plot. Grenades that were badly manipulated, handled, and an explosion. Well, the authorities, the corrupt judges, the different authorities of the police force over there that take part and are in the payroll of Mr. Rincon, they cover everything to make it look like an attack. And no, it was not an attack. It was a mishandling of the grenades. All this was received by Mr. Rincon. It's a business holding of over 90 companies in the Zulia state. So probably, very likely people in Zulia, and they know who this guy is. And also now they know that everyone knows that this man had ill intent. I want to make it clear. Well, in the race that we are making, this is in full development. For us to do this, we have sent officials only from Caracas. There is not a single official from Zulia State taking part in the operation. They didn't even go on a plane. We sent them on a car with a lot of anticipation. We installed them there in the Zulia State because when we began to investigate the case, we realized that the state was plagued by corruption. Everything financed, sponsored by Mr. Rincon. Everything controlled by him. So just a few days ago, that in a way have contact with officials along the country, alongside the country. So a few days ago, I received a message from a lieutenant that he asked for authorization to investigate these companies, and they told him no, that man was untouchable. An anti-drug lieutenant. Today, the sponsor of the terrorist groups that are led by Maria Corina Machado, all the money comes from drug trafficking. And the main sustenance sponsor in the Colombian paramilitary groups led by Uribe and Duque. They continue to attack our country, and we will continue to stand firm, defending revolution, our territory, and above all, defending our people. These people have no value at all. It has been shown, demonstrated, that if we go to the States, a new law was approved to harm the country, and they come out and they celebrate this. And it's not enough. If there were election tomorrow, they would say that they would take part in the election, and then they would say fraud, and then we'll be back again from the beginning. But in the meantime, they continue to in their conspiracy plans and in the attacks against our people. Here it says, Jose Enrique Rincon, they are training paramilitary to attack main objectives, power stations, oil stations, and to carry out strong sabotage operations. So they are training Colombian paramilitary for this. And this man, Rincon, he surrendered his ranch, his state, his business to have control over all this. But better say he had control, because the law and constitution have acted and legality has acted, and above all, the Venezuelan government has acted in the name of peace. What was the main objective? Well, they talked in their conversations that we managed to get, because we have their phones, we have their laptops. Following the raids, we have USB drive, we have the operation map of everything that they wanted to do. And at all costs, they had to prevent that the recently elected power were legitimized before the National Assembly. Of course, the strike that we gave them, taking away their weapons, it paralyzed them, and they could not organize. Today, the groups that were led by the Tren de Aragua, they tried to meet in Colombia. And you saw that in these days there was a man detained over there in Colombia. They were heading towards a meeting to plan the attacks together with the far-right opposition sectors, these terrorist groups that are led by Marina Corina Machado. They went over the line. They went over what is morally permissible. The only thing that is missing for them is to openly declare themselves. And I say this, the leaders, because they're already using paramilitary groups in Colombia and delinquent groups here in Colombia. When I was telling you about the judges in 3 states, plus all these people that have been convicted in prisons, it all has to do. It's all related. As you have seen in the press, when this man was detained, and they acted in parallel. Their corruption, I'm talking about the judges. They acted in corruption and conspiracy. I believe that today the Venezuelan state is not the one that has taken the lead in this in full development. Right now, right in this moment, raids are being carried out against other companies. More weapons have been found. More information has been discovered. More links have been discovered with the Venezuelan opposition. Tomorrow they will say that it's all a lie. They will continue to say that it's all a lie, but we will continue working to preserve peace. We won't allow them anything. They went over the line of politics, and they are planning violent acts against our people. So I wanted to inform this to the whole country, and the world has to know that in Venezuela, fascism will not be able to triumph. Every time that we have the opportunity, we will act. Look, in the training center that they had, those attacks that were planned against oil installations and power stations, now they're going to begin using the drones with explosives, and they're training a group of people. I could not say, but they have objectives on figures of the Bolivarian revolution, to kill them, to assassinate them as part of this plan of violence. It is not what is most important is not the life of one and another, but what is most important is the peace and tranquility of this country, and it has to do with taking care of all of us. So if anyone has a question. First question from Venezuelan Televisión. Minister, this operation has the name No to Christmas. Their name. The training of paramilitary. The question is if this operation has some kind of link with the recent facts that have been denounced by the Venezuelan authorities of attacks against PDVSA infrastructure, pointing out Eric Prince, a U.S. mercenary, and also opposition figure Marina Corina Machado. How are the investigations going on this fact, and if this operation has some kind of relations with the attack against the infrastructures of oil industries? Yes. We'll go over again. This is an investigation. Several days have been going on now. Training, parliamentary training with main objectives, power stations, oil stations, and strong sabotage operations. It's important that our people knows and are clear that behind this plan they began attacking in their Zulia state, and over there is the main Marina Corina Machado. They detained, they talk very clearly their communications and constant contact with Ivan Simonovich. That Ivan Simonovich is the one that was giving them the objectives, the directions. They talk with this man, with Rincon, about delivery of 20 million euros for the payment of operations right now. This is what those that have been detained are saying. If Simonovich is present, his friend Eric Prince has to be there too, because he said they're close friends. As Simonovich has said and openly said that behind all these actions is Marina Corina Machado. Even Simonovich is the one saying this. It's not me. I just repeat what he says. Link, of course. It's all linked. That's why we are here, to say it. When we present here a citizen of U.S. origin that came supposedly on vacation, but his tourism was to take pictures of oil installations and power stations, some people laugh. To go there, some people laugh about this. Why? Why have most of them go to the Amazon state? Just a question. Why have we captured so many mercenaries in the Amazon state? Because their main income is drug trafficking. Their source of financing is drug trafficking, and they wanted to take over the Amazon state. We have not said this, but like 4 days ago, I think Eligio is the one that reported it, over 5,000 kilograms of drugs were confiscated in the Amazon state. That's their main source of income, drug trafficking. That's why they go there. That's where they get paid. That's where they get in contact. They come through the Colombian border. So when we see what happened in the east, in a gas station, highly calculated, well planned, because once they attack this place, look, because we work tirelessly and sometimes we don't say a thing. What happened in the east had occurred, and DLC was over there with all the workers, the oil workers were over there, they were not sleeping, and they attacked Falcon. Gas. Another gas installation in Falcon. Yeah, just 1 day after. So that we have realized this is a plan, and it's a plan to hurt the country. Today, the country is is issue with light because of Marina Corina Machado, because of their hero Eric Prince, due to the mercenaries of the terrorists, and we go every day working tirelessly. Sometimes we don't say things so that we don't trigger alarms to our people. If they will not rest, neither will we, and we will defeat them. Be certain that terrorists will not be able to win. Peace is the only one that is going to triumph, and I have no doubt that everything is linked, and they are heading this operation. And behind this operation is the continuation of the operation, where the mercenaries that were contracted by the Spanish intelligence agency and by the CIA and by the DEA, they are all linked. Why in the US they don't open an investigation against Prince? Can a country from here, from Venezuela, say a citizen, I go there to collect money, to overthrow a money without... Can someone in Venezuela say this and nothing will happen? Why does that happen in US territory? Because they are behind it. They are behind all of this. This is an operation with that same framework, in that same activity denounced by us. Mercenaries, drug trafficking, arms trafficking. That's why DEA is operating, because the DEA is the biggest drug trafficking cartel. That's why Uribe is there, is Duque as well. It's the same scheme as Gedeon was. Where's Goldman, the mercenary? Was that his name? Woodron. Where is he? Why? Because after he was in prison, they released him, and no one knows where he is. Thank you. Second question, Madeleine Garcia, teleSUR. Well, I was going to ask you pretty much the same. If this was all related to the mercenaries, if there are more foreign mercenaries, the vice president talked about that one of those that took part in the attack on the gas station, he was a foreigner, that he had fled, and that there were more. I wanted to ask that. And, and from here, Maria Corina has spoken that it could be before, during, or after from the appointment that this operation is going to continue. Is there any conversation with the Petro government to be able to disarticulate these operations if the headquarters are over there in Colombia? Well, not only the main source, also in Ecuador, people are being trained. Ecuador has training installation as well. We have the coordinates, we have the locations, we have everyone that is behind this. If Sivanovich is also here, he was going over there and he didn't go at the end. He later sent another person. You probably know who he is, Niendo Quintero. And they have training center in Ecuador. In Ecuador is working and is operating a government that is completely surrendered to U.S. imperialism, but also to fascism. And they operate from Miami. Where are the weapons coming from? From the U.S. Where are the explosives coming from? From the U.S. It's not only Colombia. Of course, with the Colombia government, you listen to the President Petro when he was talking about the person related to the train at Agua. He was in coordination with Venezuelan authorities. Well, there it is. Unfortunately, that operation was meant to capture like 15 people in Colombia, and we only managed to get one. There were more, of course. It was a meeting in Colombia, in the border. I cannot say the place where he was apprehended. The coordinate, everything was given, and only one was able to be caught. The same president says that it was in coordination with Venezuelan authorities. And of course, what happens in Venezuela affects Colombia, and what happens in Colombia affects Venezuela. There's not an issue in terms of coordination. Unfortunately, just as it happens in the Zulia state, there are different authority levels that are linked with terrorism. In this case, with Mr. Rincon. In Colombia, it's the same. Third and last question, Eligio Rojas, Últimas Noticias. To understand a bit the dimension of this operation that you just denounced, Operation Not to Christmas, it has a code name, DLB Delta, Echo, Lima. What's B? Victor. Delta Echo Lima Victor 27. That's the code name that they have among them. But they express not to Christmas. But the code that they use to communicate is this. So if you get a message like this, you are involved in this. So to understand some details on the dimension of this operation, as I was saying, we would like to know some details, like for example, how many businessmen from Zulia and these other 3 states are currently detained. Second, the hierarchy of the military that took part, or that take part, and how many military are detained. The ranks, the situation, if they are active or reserve. And finally, these people, for example, the operators of the justice system, the president of the Zulia Circuit State, and some judges of the appeal court, did they act individually or they have some boss above them independently from the businessmen that I think are the ones leading in this occasion these type of operations? But coming from the justice system, Is there someone else above them that could be compromised in these operations? Thank you very much. In the case, I will begin with the last question. I won't say a thing, but there will be signs. There will be signs. Unfortunately, I cannot go beyond what I've already said because they are currently providing statements and there are names coming up. Just the statement of one person is not enough for a serious investigation. For example, they can say Eligio, but we won't act directly because we have to corroborate that information. They are all going through the different polygraphs to check the information. I want to tell you they are all here in Caracas, this group that has been detained. Why are here? The same reason as the Zulia state. The investigation is going to be carried out here. And yes, unfortunately, when you begin to pull the thread, there are many denunciations of the participation of several judges more related with corruption facts than with this one. Without doubt, we have committed mistakes. And when I say we, I mean the state as a general. Sometimes we appoint a person and we left them alone, so some got corrupt. Usually, corruption is linked to treason, because corruption links with different stages, with the characteristics. I'm looking for money too for the conspiracy acts, because I'm gonna be forgiven then, because what I did was to get money. Case of PDVSA, from Rafael Ramirez all the way downwards. I'm only looking for money for the conspiracy, so I should be forgiven. Over $100,000 were found on a judge and the prosecutor as well. They say it was to pay, to carry out payments. Unfortunately, I cannot tell you because they're currently providing statements. We are corroborating the information. We are doing all the corresponding serious work, and all those that are being pointed out and that they have the proof is going to be detained. And I cannot give names because that will put them on alert and they will flee the country. In terms with the military, it's the same. We have one detained, mentioned by them to have participated in certain meetings. We have the testimony of several people that now come and say what happened in the Zulia state, or what happens, because we are still dismantling that operation. And regarding the businessmen and high-ranking militaries, there's a mix. These companies, if you see the company as a whole, they are successful companies. The greatest shrimp company of Zulia and Venezuela, the biggest, over 6,000 employees. But always money wants more money, privileges, power. I always tell the story of Marcel Lanier that you are Herion. Once we gather with Commander Chavez, with all them and the owner of the media, and we would ask them, have you had bad business with this government? And they would say, no, it's never been we never had better times. We never had bank fraud. We have not been intervened. So I would ask, what's the problem? I would say, well, the issue is that when I would go out of Venezuela, I will call the Minister of Justice. I'm leaving or coming in. And the minister would designate a commission and then they would wait for me in the airport. And was like, no. And he was saying, in a moment of honesty, now I called the minister and not even the secretary is going to pick up the phone. So it's an issue of privileges. If you have a company that is strong, that is working, what's your need to go into the conspiracy? The ambition of privileges. And yes, they are all businessmen. This man is not working alone. And there are several others from Zulia and other states. Because this had to do with collecting money and receive money and work as a middleman for these operations. The logistics of the training, the parliamentary, is on the tab of this person. The location is on the tab of this person. You know that Colombia, with border Zulia, is a river. You can cross. On one side, you have the Colombian side, 80 meters, and then you're on the Venezuelan side. They use that way to not to flee, but to hide. When someone informs of the operation, they immediately go. They have drones in all of these areas. So do we. Fortunately. And I will tell you, ours have better sights. I guarantee that our drones have better sights. At longer distance, higher heights, and can do things that yours don't. And I won't say no more. Because we're going to face these people with all the strength of the state. With all the strength. These people do not love Venezuela. These people want to surrender Venezuela to the U.S. imperialism and to all its allies. These people already negotiated Venezuela. They already traded Venezuela a long time ago. And what's happening now is an issue of payment. I have a counsel for them. Take it if you want. If you're a businessman, remain a businessman. Don't go into conspiracy. It's not in your best benefit. Go to work. There are people that have called. The vice president told me that she received a call that some people were asking. Some people were surprised, saying, "I knew it." That they were into something. When this happens, one sees a person that has these companies, his ambition. It's nothing else. It's just it's all about privileges, power, to be able to decide, and to be able to rule over judges. That's why they have power over state institutions and judges and police. They take them to their restaurants, they treat them. And I can imagine this. Well, I was in Zulia a few time ago, and no one came close, but I imagine it like that. So when I arrives, look, I know you're gonna have issues in this day. Here you go, a car. After they get the car, comes from the demon of corruption on that official. After the car comes something else. You are in a running down hotel. Here is this house for you. And little by little, they dominate and control them, and they will never touch that person. Privileges. Very likely that man was not thinking about the privileges of Zulia state, but more of all the country when he's involved in these terrorist actions against its own people. And justice is going to act, no matter what his name or her name is. No matter what you do, justice will act and will always come knocking. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presence here, and I ask that you help us to spread this news, because the Venezuelan people has to have clear information of what has been said here today. Thank you very much.
Well, we hardly have any serious statistics on legal issues in this country, let alone illegal issues and clandestine issues. But yes, what people usually do is they burn a swath of forests or jungles and then say, well,